You lived an entire life before your first memory. You opened your eyes, heard voices, felt hunger, warmth, fear, comfort, movement, and probably watched faces lean over you with a kind of importance you could not yet understand. You learned the smell of home, the sound of your mother's voice, the rhythm of being carried, and the feeling of the world becoming familiar, one tiny moment at a time. And yet today, almost all of that life is gone. Not blurry, not hidden behind a curtain, gone. Most people think the answer is simple. You were too young, your brain was not recording yet, and memory only began once you became older. But that is not quite right, because babies can learn, remember, recognize patterns, and react to things they experienced before. So the stranger question is not why your baby brain failed to record your life. The stranger question is why your brain recorded so much of it, then made it almost impossible for the adult you to return there. The first twist is that babies are not blank. A baby may not remember the world the way an adult remembers a birthday or a conversation, but that does not mean the baby is living without memory. Infant brains learn voices, faces, routines, comfort signals, movements, and cause and effect long before they can explain any of it. In one famous type of experiment, babies learned that moving their leg could make a mobile above them move, and when they later saw the same setup again, many began kicking as if the old rule had returned. That means something was saved. The baby brain could connect one event to another, it could store information for a while, it could expect the world to behave in a familiar way. But the problem is that these early memories are not built like the memories you use now. They are more like temporary footprints in wet sand than photographs stored in an album. They exist, they guide behavior, and then the tide of development begins to erase them. So your first years were not empty, they were full of learning. You just did not yet have the kind of brain that could turn those moments into permanent scenes you could later replay as my life. The next part is structural. Deep inside the brain is the hippocampus, one of the main systems that helps turn lived experience into episodic memory, the kind of memory where you can mentally return to a place, a time, and a version of yourself. In adults, the hippocampus works with other brain regions to organize an experience, connect it to context, and make it retrievable later. But in early childhood, that system is still being assembled. The connections are still growing, the pathways are still becoming stable, and the machinery that tags an event as a lasting personal memory is not fully mature. That is why a baby can remember some things for a short time, but still fail to carry them across the years into adulthood. The memory may exist for days or weeks, but it is not yet protected inside a strong long-term structure. Imagine trying to save important files on a computer while the operating system is still installing, the folders keep changing names, and the storage drive is being rebuilt in the background. Some information can be used right now, but it does not survive the rebuild. Your early brain was not defective, it was unfinished, and unfinished systems do not preserve history very well. But the most unsettling part is that your memories may not have disappeared only because the system was weak. They may have disappeared because the system was growing too fast. In the first years of life, the brain is changing at an extraordinary speed, building new connections, reorganizing circuits, and producing new neurons in areas involved with memory. That growth is essential because it helps build the brain you will use for the rest of your life, but it may also come with a cost. When new cells and connections are added into old circuits, the patterns that were holding early memories can become unstable, like drawings on a wall that is constantly being knocked down and rebuilt into a larger house. This is the strain trade. The same construction that allowed your brain to become more powerful may have destroyed the fragile maps of your earliest experiences. Your first memories were not simply forgotten in the normal way. They were buried under renovation. The baby version of you was living, learning, feeling, and adapting, but the brain that carried those moments kept replacing itself. To become the person who can remember a childhood, your brain may have had to sacrifice the child who came before that remembering could fully begin. Then there is another layer, and it is more personal. To remember an experience as your own, you need more than a brain that stores information. You need a sense that there is a you inside the experience. Autobiographical memory is not just a recording of what happened. It is a story where you are the main character, where the event happened to you, in your life, from your point of view. But very young children are still building that sense of self. Before a child clearly understands that the person in the mirror is them, that their body is separate from the world, and that yesterday's experience belongs to the same person who woke up today, memory has no stable owner. There may be sensations, emotions, routines, and recognition, but not yet the adult-style narrator who says, "This happened to me." That is why looking at baby photos can feel so strange. You know that child is you, but you cannot enter their mind. You cannot remember the room, the feeling, the reason you were crying, or what the person holding you meant to your world. It is your body, your history, your face, but the bridge back to that inner life is missing. Language is another reason the earliest years disappear. Before words, experience is mostly raw: light, sound, texture, hunger, warmth, pain, rhythm, smell, and emotion. Those impressions can shape the brain, but without language, they are difficult to organize into a memory that can be carried across years. Words give experience a skeleton. They let a child separate one event from another, name people, place things in time, and turn a moment into a story that can be repeated. A child who can say, "We went to the park yesterday," is not just describing a memory. That child is helping build the structure that keeps the memory alive. This is also why conversations with adults matter so much. When a parent asks, "Do you remember when we saw the dog?" they are not only chatting, they are teaching the child how to package life into scenes, causes, feelings, and personal meaning. Without language, memories are like water without a container. They exist in the moment, they affect the nervous system, and they may even leave emotional traces, but they do not easily become the kind of story an adult can later open and read. So why does your brain hide your first memories? Because it was not doing one simple thing. It was doing many difficult things at once. It was learning the world before it could explain the world. It was building the hippocampus before long-term memory was fully stable. It was growing new circuits that may have disrupted the old ones. It was forming a sense of self before there was a narrator inside your head. And it was waiting for language to give experience a shape that could survive. Your first years are not missing because nothing happened. They are missing because too much was happening. Your brain was not designed to preserve every beginning. It was designed to build a person who could continue from that beginning. This is why your earliest childhood feels like a black hole in the center of your own life. You know you were there. Other people have photos, stories, videos, and memories of you. But the person who lived inside those moments cannot hand them back. And maybe that is what makes infantile amnesia so strange. It is not just forgetting, it is becoming. Every person you have ever met has this same missing chapter. The first version of their life, the version that cried, reached, learned, fell, laughed, and slowly discovered the world, is mostly unreachable to them now. But maybe those years are not truly gone. Maybe they survive in quieter ways, in the voices that still calm you, the places that feel safe for reasons you cannot explain, the fears that arrived before language, the attachment patterns you never chose, and the emotional weather that formed before memory became a story. You may not remember being a baby, but your body learned from being one. Your first memories are hidden because the brain was busy becoming you, and becoming you required building new rooms over the old ones until the original house could no longer be entered. So when you look at an old photo of yourself as a baby, you are not only looking at a younger version of you. You are looking at someone who lived your first life, carried your first feelings, and then quietly disappeared so you could arrive. If this made you wonder about your earliest memory, comment the first thing you can remember, even if it is only a color, a room, a face, or a feeling.